Hi, I'm Emily Velander, and I'm your student Spanish 1 teacher this year. So, the method we will be using for teaching Spanish this year is considered CI or comprehensible input. And so, we will be using a variety of different methods in order to teach your child Spanish, and it's probably looking a lot different than it did when you were in high school or middle school or learning a language. So, we will be using total physical response or like gestures to help convey meaning and storytelling to teach Spanish this year. So that'll look like movie talks, different readings that students will do, talking about pictures together as a class, reading novels even together. Students are really, really successful in this type of learning for Spanish, and it helps students retain in their long-term memory a lot better. We use storytelling because storytelling is the heart of communication, and so we use that as a method to help teach a language. Rather than explicit grammar instruction or drills, we will be using pop-up grammar, it's called. So not super focused on grammar like it was when I was in high school. Students will be asked to speak when they are ready to speak. They will not be forced to speak in front of the class or for speaking tests or anything like that. So they'll be asked to speak whenever they are ready to do so. We'll be exploring a little bit of the Spanish culture as Spanish-speaking countries. We'll be going through guided writing practice. Students will be writing stories, and it's really phenomenal to see the growth in their story writing that they do each year. And then there will also be frequent brain breaks and movement in the classroom to help release some energy and help us stay engaged in class. So something to keep in mind is we have an iceberg here representing language and when people are learning the early levels of learning a language. And oftentimes people can understand a lot more than they can produce. So we can see below the surface what they understand is a lot more than that they can produce or speak or write above the surface. So if you kind of think about a child learning a language for the first time, they can understand a lot more than they can produce or say out loud. And so that is replicated as we're learning Spanish this year. A little bit more about the TPR, the total physical response, basically gestures to convey meaning. If I'm talking about something that's big, I'm going to use my hands to demonstrate that it's big. If it's small, I'm going to use my hands to demonstrate it's small, stuff like that. Um, and also lots of repetition. So Krashen is a researcher and a professor in language acquisition, and he says we need 75 to 150 repetitions of new words in context in order to acquire them in our long-term memory. So hopefully that when students leave Spanish 1 and they don't take Spanish, maybe they don't take Spanish again ever, when they are 24 years old, they'll be able to remember a lot of what they're learning in Spanish 1 because they'll be acquired in their long-term memory because they were using it in context. Some expectations about class. These are just some 4 basic expectations. There's more in the syllabus as well, which is posted on Google Classroom. Just be respectful of peers, respectful of the teacher or adults in the classroom, respectful of property, respectful of oneself as well. No cell phones. I have a pretty strict cell phone policy. I ask that no cell phones are out in class. If I see them, I will be taking them to the office. We have Chromebooks this year, which is exciting, so there should be no need to use it for technology, and we can just try our best to eliminate some of that distraction. Try your best. I ask the students try their best. They give their best effort. It can be overwhelming sometimes to learn a language. It's a little bit daunting, but I think students are very successful and they succeed in class. And so I just ask the students try their best and have their best mindset when they're approaching the learning the language. And then be on time. Be prompt so we can start class right away. Be prepared for class. I ask that students are in their seat when the bell rings and so that we can get started right away. Here's the grading scale I will use. It's a pretty typical 100% grading scale where 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B. This is important to note, though, that the B is proficient. It represents proficient, and that's the target goal. Students are meeting the standards, the proficiency of what is being asked of them. To get an A, they have to go a little bit above and beyond and demonstrate in-depth inferences, applying the language in creative ways, or using applications that go beyond what was taught. And so that's kind of how students get into the A range. Participation checklist, because we are learning a language and we're working together so much, participation is really important. So just some things to note here: adjusting behavior after 0 or 1 warnings, using 100% of your work time invested in what we're doing. If we're telling a story together as a class, students are involved in that. Using their teacher as a resource, asking questions. I'm here to help, and so make sure they're using me. And then when they're absent, finding notes and makeup work and making sure they're turning everything in. Attendance is super important, like I kind of mentioned already. So please make sure as a parent or guardian that you're checking Infinite Campus frequently, if not daily, to see that your students are arriving to class and arriving on time. And then look at your students' grades as well as their attendance. I update my gradebook very frequently. I'm usually pretty on top of that. So like 2 to 3 times a week, there's something usually new going into the gradebook. So just make sure you're checking Infinite Campus for that. And then if you have any questions, make sure to email me. I respond within 24 work hours, so Monday through Friday. So just make sure you email me. Let me know if you have questions, and I would love to respond to you and hopefully help you out. And then also Google Classroom is a great tool. So if you are not already on a guardian listed as on your student's Google Classroom, ask that you're added to that so that you can get updates on kind of what's going on there. So here you can see what was missed, or students can see what was missed after an excused absence, including some warm-ups. We'll be doing warm-ups every day. Access to digital copies of materials that we have used in class. And then also the Google slide presentations or other study materials will be posted there. And then materials, this is a common question that parents ask, materials needed for Spanish class, either a 3-ring binder with paper, like loose leaf paper, and then dividers to keep it organized, or a folder with a notebook is just fine too, whatever works best for you and your student. We ask the students have a pencil every day and a blue or black pen. We won't use that every day, but something to write with for sure. And then this is Chromebook and Chromebook charger. Students will be asked to have this every day. We will try to implement some form of technology in this class every day. That'll be evolving this year as we're adjusting, but this is going to be kind of the approach for the whole school. So please make sure that students have that with them every day. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I look forward to working with your student this year.